Good afternoon, everyone. I acknowledge and recognize that we're on Treaty 1 territory. This land is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and the national homeland of the Red River Métis. J'aimerais reconnaître que le territoire sur lequel nous nous trouvons est visé par le traité numéro 1. Il s'agit d'un territoire ancestral des Anishinaabe, des Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota et des Dene, et du territoire national des Métis de la Rivière Rouge. Thank you all for coming today. Merci d'être venu aujourd'hui. And thank you, Betty, for being with us here today on this difficult day. I'm Inspector Tim Arsenault, Investigative Service Officer with the Manitoba RCMP Major Crime Services. Je suis l'inspecteur Tim Arsenault, officier des services d'enquête du service des crimes majeurs de la GRC du Manitoba. I felt it was really important to have one of the investigators directly involved in the search and investigation to speak to you today. Sergeant Laura Ledrew, the team commander for this investigation, is here with us and will provide you with an update on the investigation, which I will then provide to you in French. Following these remarks, Betty Lynxleg, Melinda's aunt, has asked to say a few words. There will be an opportunity to ask questions of Sergeant Ledrew or myself following the prepared remarks. J'ai pensé qu'il était très important que l'un des enquêteurs directement impliqués dans les recherches et l'enquête s'adresse à vous aujourd'hui. Le sergent Laura Ledrew, le commandant d'équipe pour cette enquête, est ici avec nous et donnera ses remarques que je vous fournirai en français au suivant. Après ces remarques, Betty Lynxleg, la tante de Melinda, a demandé de dire quelques mots. Il serait possible de poser des questions au sergent Ledrew ou moi après les remarques préparées. I would like to invite Sergeant Ledrew to the podium. Je voudrais inviter le sergent Ledrew à la parole.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for coming. It is important to note at the start that the information we are about to share with you may be disturbing to members of the public, particularly those families with missing loved ones. And it is also important to advise you from the outset that this investigation we will be discussing today is very much ongoing. I want to share with you as much as I can, but I also need to protect the investigation moving forward and cannot provide further details than what I'm sharing right now. On June 6, 2023, RCMP recovered remains from an abandoned property that we were searching in San Clara, Manitoba. After an autopsy was conducted yesterday, we are able to confirm that the remains we discovered are those of Melinda Lynxleg. We can also confirm that Melinda was a victim of homicide. Our most sincere condolences go to Melinda's 6 children, her mother, and her many relatives and friends. This is not the news that anyone wanted to hear, and though we suspected she was deceased, confirming that fact is very difficult, certainly for the family, but also for the investigators. On April 16th, 2020, Melinda was reported missing. She was 40 years old. The last time anyone saw her was March 31st, 2020, and police initiated a missing persons investigation. In the beginning, we started searching her frequent hangouts. We spoke to known associates. Melinda was well liked and she had many friends and knew a lot of people. We spoke to over 60 people in this investigation, all who had some sort of connection or relationship to Melinda. We searched multiple locations throughout Western Manitoba and Winnipeg as part of the investigation. Melinda's family has been very engaged since the very start. They assisted police throughout the investigation, providing us with information about Melinda's potential and possible whereabouts. I've been a part of this investigation since the very beginning. Myself and several officers searching for Melinda have really felt like we've gotten to know her from all the people we talked to and from speaking with her loving family. This information really became personal for all of us, as all of them do, but we wanted answers for Melinda's family. That was our mindset when we started the search of the abandoned property in San Clara on June 5th. We were very hopeful we would find Melinda or something to lead us to her, as we were on all the other previous searches. It's a typical rural property with multiple structures, and we brought in numerous specialists. We had construction equipment to assist with the search. the RCMP Forensic Identification Section, which is a team of people who are very experienced in identifying and capturing evidence, assisted at the search site. Additionally, a forensic anthropologist who's also a part of the on-site team. They're the expert who assists with confirming human remains. Search and rescue was also on site helping, and their eyes scoured every inch of the property. We have been searching for so long. When the remains were discovered, there was a collective moment of silence. Finding Melinda is an important part of this investigation, and she can now go home. However, our work is not done. Our investigation confirms that Melinda was murdered, and our job now is to find the truth of what happened to her. And I assure you that we are on it. I know you will have many questions about next steps, suspects, how we got to where we are now, but I cannot share all of that with you. And I will when I can. But that time is not now, and to do that, we need to let the investigation take its course in order to secure answers and provide clarity. Right now, let us all in this room think of Melinda, think of the children she left behind, the mother she will no longer call for a chat, and think of her many friends who will never have a good laugh with her again. The strong message today is that the RCMP do not give up on missing people. This is a prime example. After more than 3 years of searching, conducting interviews, and collecting evidence, we never stopped. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergeant Ledrew. I'll now repeat Sergeant Ledrew's remarks in French. Il est important de noter que les informations que nous allons partager avec vous peuvent être dérangeantes pour le public, en particulier pour les familles dont un proche a disparu. Il est également important que vous informiez que l'enquête dont nous allons parler aujourd'hui est en cours. Je voudrais partager avec vous le plus d'informations possible, mais je dois protéger l'enquête en cours et je ne peux pas fournir plus de détails que ceux que je partage aujourd'hui. Le 6 juin 2023, la GRC a retrouvé des restes humains sur une propriété abandonnée qu'elle fouillait à San Clara au Manitoba. Après l'autopsie effectuée hier, nous sommes en mesure de confirmer que les restes humains retrouvés sont ceux de Melinda Lynxleg. Et nous pouvons également confirmer que Melinda était une victime d'un homicide. Nous souhaitons sincèrement nos condoléances à six enfants de Melinda, sa mère, sa famille étendue, ainsi que ses nombreux amis. Ce sont de nouvelles que personne ne voulait entendre, bien que nous nous méfions de son décès. La confirmation de ce fait est très difficile, certainement pour la famille, mais aussi pour les enquêteurs. Le 16 avril 2020, Melinda a été signalée comme disparue. Elle avait 40 ans. La dernière fois que quelqu'un a vu Melinda, c'était le 31 mars 2020. La police a ouvert une enquête sur sa disparition. Lorsque cela se produit, c'est-à-dire lorsque la routine habituelle d'une personne a pris fin, celle-ci devient une personne disparue. Au début, nous avons commencé à chercher ses endroits habituels, nous avons parlé de ses associés connus. Melinda était appréciée. Elle avait beaucoup d'amis et connaissance beaucoup de monde. Dans le cadre de cette enquête, nous avons parlé à environ 60 personnes qui avaient un lien ou une relation quelconque avec Melinda. La famille de Melinda a été très impliquée dès le début. La famille a aidé la police tout au long de l'enquête en nous fournissant des informations sur le lieu où pourrait se trouver Melinda. Nous avons commencé les recherches sur une propriété abandonnée à San Clara le 5 juin. Nous avions bon espoir de trouver Melinda ou quelque chose qui nous mènerait à elle. Il s'agissait d'une propriété rurale typique avec de multiples structures. Nous avons fait venir des équipements de construction pour aider à la recherche. La section de l'identité judiciaire de la GRC, une équipe de personnes très spécialisées dans l'identification et la collecte de preuves, a participé à la recherche. En plus, un anthropologue judiciaire faisait également partie de notre équipe sur place en tant d'expert qui aide à confirmer les restes humains. Notre équipe de recherche et de sauvetage était également sur place pour participer à la fouille du terrain. Leurs yeux ont scruté chaque centimètre carré de la propriété. Nous avons cherché pendant si longtemps que lorsque les restes ont été découverts, il y a eu un moment de silence collectif. Retrouver Melinda est un élément important de l'enquête. Elle peut maintenant retourner chez elle. Cependant, notre travail n'est pas terminé. Notre enquête confirme que Melinda a été une victime d'un meurtre et notre tâche consiste maintenant à découvrir la vérité sur qui lui est arrivé. Et je vous assure que nous y travaillons. Je sais que vous aurez de nombreuses questions sur les prochaines étapes, des suspects, comment nous sommes arrivés là, où nous sommes maintenant, mais je ne veux pas partager cela avec vous. Je le ferai quand je le pourrai, mais ce n'est pas maintenant. Pour cela, nous devons laisser l'enquête suivre son cours afin d'obtenir des réponses et d'apporter à la clarté. En ce moment même, pensons tous dans cette salle à Melinda. Pensons à ses enfants, à la mère qu'elle ne pourra plus parler. Pensons aux nombreux amis qui ne pourront plus jamais rire avec elle. Le message clair d'aujourd'hui est que la GRC n'abandonne pas les personnes disparues. Le cas présent est un excellent exemple. Après plus de 3 ans de recherche, d'entretien et de collecte de preuves, nous n'avons jamais cessé de chercher. Nous ne sommes jamais arrêtés. Merci. I'd like to invite Betty Lynxleg to the podium. Je voudrais inviter Betty Lynxleg à prendre parole.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm here to represent Melinda and our family. It's not the outcome that we were hoping for, but we are relieved that we do have some level of closure. Finding Melinda, it's been really difficult on our family not knowing where she's been for these last 3 years. Knowing that she would have come home to her children. So we knew that something devastating really happened, and we know that Melinda would have been back. She would have come home if something didn't happen to her. So the last 3 years have been very difficult for all of us, but especially for her mom and dad. I know that her dad wasn't mentioned, but he's very much a strong part of the family. Her parents are very strong people. Melinda is a family member of 7 siblings. She has 6 children that she's leaving behind. And it's all of these years we've been wondering where she is, and the kids have been wondering where their mother is. You know, they have missed 3 years of cuddling. They've missed 3 years of school events with their mom. They've missed all those times of being together. Melinda loved her children very much. And her children are, you know, from adult age to very young. And so, especially her older daughters knew that by now their mother wasn't coming back. So it's been really difficult, especially on her oldest daughter. And her second daughter, Charlize, had asked me to make sure and let everybody know that how much she loved her crazy mother and how much she's missed the time with her, and that she'll never see her graduate. And that's true for all the kids. Now they just have their grandparents where they reside now. And, you know, for Melinda's parents, they're very strong people. And they're very private people. And Melinda comes from a big family. We have a huge extended family. We all love Melinda. We've all wondered where she is. And of course, we've heard things, you know, in our community, in our region. And we thank all those people that called in with all their tips and their stories. And we absolutely thank each and every one that called into the police and gave those tips, because we believe that those tips helped come to a resolution that we find this week. And no matter how small the story was or what, you know, it all helped, we believe. And we believe that there's many people that can still help us, and that there's more information to be provided, and to continue to bring those stories to the police, because we want justice for Melinda. She deserves justice. She didn't deserve to leave this world the way she did. No one deserves that. She was a single mom. She was resilient. She did everything she could for her kids. You know, we need justice. We need full closure. We believe that justice is coming. We truly believe that it's coming. And we need the help. We need continued tips. And if you have any kind of information, anything that you know at all, don't send messages to my sister because it's a painful process. It's painful to hear messages of things people have heard. Send them to the police. Send all those messages and those tips and everything. Keep sending them to the police. We believe that justice will be served in the Anishinaabe way. We have our own traditional law. It's called the law of the Ojine. Ojine law is coming. And that law is when you hurt someone or you harm someone, that there will be repercussions, there'll be consequences. And that is governed not by humanity. That's something beyond all of us. But we believe that as Anishinaabe people, that Ojine is coming, and that justice is going to come through the police. And we ask for the continued support to bring this story to full closure. We're partway there, and we're so happy to have Melinda come home to her ancestral grounds, where her family is, where we can go and we can continue to visit with her. All these years of this last 3 years, we've had nowhere to go, wondering all this time. So we're bringing her home to our territory, to where her family is. And we'd like to thank the police for their diligence in not letting this case go unanswered. For us, 3 years is a long time, but we know in the process of the investigation with the police that it's not a long time. You know, that there's some families out there that are still missing their loved ones for decades. You know, and our hearts go out to those families who don't get this partial closure that we have right now, that they don't get to know where their family member is. They don't get to bring them home to where their ancestors are. So we say to them, we continue to pray, keep you in our prayers for your family member, because we understand. We can relate. We have that feeling. We know what you're feeling. And we'd like to give a special recognition to one of the officers, Tina Shuchuk. My sister wanted to make sure that she was mentioned because Tina went over and beyond to find Melinda. And we really honor that commitment by the police to have that dedication to find our girl. So we say thank you to all the officers that were involved. And just send that plea out to the public to keep sending in those stories. Miigwech.
Thank you, Betty. Merci. Available for any questions.
Yes. I'm sorry, I missed that last part. So as much as I'd like to answer very specific questions about how we found and I'm unable to do so at this time because it is ongoing and we cannot bear to in any way wreck the integrity of the investigation. Yeah. We don't have a definitive answer on that, no. So oftentimes a missing person investigation it can be as long as that investigation goes until the person is found, whether they're deceased or alive. 3 years is a long time, but I think Betty put it the very, very best, that it's a very, very long time for the family. It's a very short time for us. We get information and we follow up on all of those leads. And like I said, we were investigating sightings that were unconfirmed, but we followed up on all of the leads. Having the family being very cooperative and supportive made all of the difference. We did hear information from community members. We'd heard a couple stories, people came forward, which essentially led us to the property where we ended up finding her eventually, but we had followed up on every lead. Again, I'd like to answer that, but I won't answer that right now. Due to the integrity of what we're trying to keep very small, and again, I'd really like to answer all of these questions about the specifics, because that is the really where we're going. Again, it's ongoing, it's developing, and to talk about that could potentially disrupt where we're going. So. I won't talk about exactly where, but I am obviously confirming that it was on the rural property that we did search. Yeah. Again, those are sort of issues that are a little bit specific that we'll be keeping a bit close right now. So again, when she was reported missing, we opened a missing person investigation, and it's kind of almost the same that we do for every missing person investigation. We sort of start with the family, the person who's making the report to us. We follow up with where they last were, what they were wearing, things of that nature, and we follow up kind of basic at first, and then as the search sort of goes on and we're not finding, we have to continue sort of branching out with that, and that's often going back to the family and following up on who does she hang around with, what's her lifestyle, checking Facebook and social media and things like that. So those are steps that were taken 3 years ago. At this point, it's not definitive because there was a little bit of it has been 3 years, and so there's many different stories that we're kind of following up on. So yeah, the land was abandoned, and we did take steps to understand sort of the ownership and how that was playing out, yes.